What's the value of something like this? Ydy werth rhywbeth fel un wan?
Wel, pris nhw.
16,000. Faint fysa'n go dalu?
Doedd ddim ar werth.
Sy'n byd ar werth, fan agos? Helo, a croeso yn ôl I Howard yn y Garej. Dyn ni yma yn y National Motor Museum heddiw yn Beaulieu. Efo fi yw Howard Davies o Amanfford, fo sy'n gwybod bopeth am hen gair, a hefyd o'r National Motor Museum yma yn Beaulieu, Bryn Jones yn greiddiol o Llangadfan.
Ie, na chi. Ie, croeso I chi i'r amgueddfa moduro genedlaethol neu'r National Motor Museum, fel dyn ni dweud. Dewch I fewn I weld beth sydd gennym ni ag mwynhewch y ddiwrnod.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you very much. Gewn ni fynd. Wel, dyma ni yn cychwyn y museum, ynddi, a mae'n cychwyn fan hyn efo'r bicycles a hen cair.
Ie, felly deud hanes moduro yng Mhrydain yda ni yn yr amgueddfa, felly fan hyn ydy'r cyflwyniad i'r amgueddfa. Dych chi'n edrych ar dechrau'r ugeinfed ganrif fan hyn efo'r beics I gychwyn, wrth gwrs, a wedyn efo moduro fwyaf cynnar yn yr ugeinfed ganrif.
Ond beth dwi'n gallu weld draw fan hyn yw pethau dyn ni'n abod, ynddi?
Wel, ni'n lywydd mwy gyfarod o'r ein, ond ni'n
Ha? Does y pawb yn Cymru eisiau un o'r ein yn y garej. Ford RS Cosworth, 1986. Nes i'n 2 flwyddyn o'r rali am yn rhain. Do, efo Gwyndaf. Yna ni'n pink. Ac yn y grŵp N car. Do, ennill grŵp N. Faint o'n nhw?
O, ar y pryd, rhyw 15,000 rhywbeth o'na I barnu prynu.
A ges I adre o hosbyty pan ges I geni yn un o'r ein. Anglia oedd gen mam a dad pan nes I geni 1965, a mae hwn yn 1966, yli.
Ydy.
O gen ti'n yr ein, Hugh?
Dim nawr, wedi bod, ond mae'r Cwpr S, mae'n un o'r ein gyda fi gatre yn y swyddfa. Fi'n disgwyl ar un o'r ein pob dydd.
Mae hwn yn Cwpr S, price new, £695. 70 horsepower at 6,000 RPM. Be oedd o 1071 engine?
1071 oedd hwn, ond eithon ymlaen i'r 1275s ar ôl ni, yna beth oedd yn cael iws o mwyaf.
So, os o ti eisiau mynd â hwn adre heddiw o fan hyn, faint fysa'n go dalu?
Rhyw 60-70,000 pounds heddi.
Doedd ddim ar werth.
Sy'n byd ar werth, fan agos?
Ond dim Beaulieu sy'n berchen hwn, mae hwn yn...
Mrs N. Babson, pwy di hi de?
Mae dros hanner y cer sydd gennym ni wedi cael i'w rhoi i'r amgueddfa neu ar lôn gen y pobl sydd yn berchen.
Mae bobl gallu edrych arnyn nhw.
Ie.
A hwn, y Beetle, hwn yn car reit popular yn yr UK yn doedd, ar ôl y rhyfel y bethau. Porsche tu ôl y Beetle,
Wel, yn hollol, mae'r siap y car hyn nawr, mae wedi mynd mewn i'r 911, so chi'n disgwyl arno fe. Mae'n debyg iawn.
A mae hwn yn 24 horsepower, be oedd hwnna? 70 horsepower, 25 horsepower, a £600 new yn pryd, 1953. Oedd o'n drud yn doedd?
Oedd yn prynu.
Ond oedd nhw'n poblogaidd iawn, ond oedd nhw'n simple yn doedd, air-cooled.
Gwmwys yr ein patrwn ar Porsche.
Ie, ac oedd na boi yn rali ar ein?
Oedd.
Francis Tuttle, o'n i siarad amdano fo'n neithiwr. Ond y reswm i dyn ni yma I dathlu Bluebird, ynddi. Bluebird naeth yr land speed record
yn Pendine.
Yn 1925. A mae hwnna yma rhywle.
Cam mlynedd yn ôl, ie.
Gen I mynd I weld Bluebird.
Ie, dwch chi lawr I weld.
Diolch yn fawr.
Ffor' hyn dyn ni'n mynd, Bryn. Wel, dyma car enwog iawn, yli. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Wyt ti'n cofio'r ffilm?
O, fi yn.
Mae hwn yn gallu fflio, mae'n gallu mynd mewn dŵr o bob peth.
Mae'n gallu pob peth, ond yw e. Mae pawb yn edrych ar y car yn y sylw.
Be di hanes hwn, te, Bryn?
Wel, y car oedd yn y ffilm ydy hwn. Dwi'n credu bod nhw wedi gwneud rhyw 5 o'r Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Mae'n just yn un o'r ceir sydd gennym ni fan hyn oedd wedi oedd fewn yn y byd y ffilm.
Ani, mae'n chance fan, I ennill car heddiw, oes?
Oes.
Mae'n raffel ymlaen, oes?
Na chi, cyfle I chi ennill MG.
A faint wedi gorfod gwario? £2.50? Dewn nawn ni gwar hwnna later on. Yli, mae'n hyn yn un. Be di hwnna beth goch na?
Peel, di hwnna.
Peel.
Rhywbeth yn debyg ar go-go mobil, yn dwi?
Dew, mae'n bob peth, mae'n does. Ond da ni ar y ffordd I weld y Bluebird.
Ie, dwch lawr I weld.
Gathon ni, ti'n bech o, watch out, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Ti'n gallu weld o dan efo, mae fo'r wings, yli. Wel, dyma ni Hugh yn y Land Speed Gallery.
Wel, disgwyl mlaen I hwn, achos mae siw gymaint o hanes mae'n un, ond os yna newedig am Pendine.
Ie, a hanes am Pendine, am y stories I gyd. Hello, Patrick. How are you?
Welcome.
We understand you are the man that knows everything about Bluebird, and you're going to show us Bluebird and tell us all about it.
I can tell you a little bit about its amazing history, yes. So it was built by the Sunbeam Motor Company in Wolverhampton over the winter of 1919 and 1920. With two aims, really. One, to race at Brooklands. It was one of a number of cars being built at that time which were powered by great big aero engines. But Sunbeam also had their eye on the outright land speed record. And they took the land speed record at Brooklands in May 1922 with a speed of 133 miles an hour, driven by a racing driver called Ken Elmley Guinness. It was part of the Guinness brewing family. Sunbeam then sold it to Malcolm Campbell. Now, Malcolm Campbell was a racing driver at the time, had his own eye on the land speed record. He repainted it. It became one of his series of Bluebird racing cars. He put a longer body on it, more streamlined.
I noticed he didn't put any seatbelts in it.
No seatbelts.
No roll cage?
No roll cage. They weren't wearing crash helmets, no fireproof overalls. You're probably driving in a polo shirt.
What was the theory behind that if they were going to go off or they were going to roll, they'd get thrown out to safety?
Well, there were a number of racing drivers who raced in periods said they preferred to be not seatbelted, said they would be thrown clear, yeah. But I think probably the chances of surviving a crash in this were pretty minimal.
And 150 miles an hour down Pendine sands, what about the dust, the sand and the grit?
It's being thrown up all over the place, yeah, so goggles are imperative, yeah. So,
Can we have a look under the bonnet?
We'll open the bonnet for you, certainly, have a look.
I love the leather straps. Can I open this one?
Yeah, if you pull that one off.
Now, these leather eyelets in here, or wooden eyelets, they're just protectors for the exhaust.
Yeah.
Didn't they not have a big side exhaust then?
Well, generally this car ran for its first 2 land speed records in 1922, and then in 1924 it ran with these stub exhausts. But in 1925 it had a full system with silencer right down the side, and there are photographs that show that in place.
Look,
spectacular.
So there we go.
Nothing like a bit of copper, is there?
So this is an 18-litre V12, or 18.3-litre V12.
18-litre V12. So 6 here, 6 there.
Yeah.
And the pots are 1.5 litres then.
And this one, of course, has been completely rebuilt.
It's been rebuilt, yes. So this had a problem many years ago when oil in the oilways had congealed, and it actually ended up with a conrod being thrown through the crankcase.
Yeah.
But our engineers in our own workshop rebuilt that, and it's been running just over a decade now.
Earlier, Howard, of course, they were using castrol in this. And the castrol, you can smell the castrol. We're quite
and it does congeal, doesn't it?
It does. And of course,
it's designed to cause lubrication within the barrels, isn't it?
That's right. And of course, they're blocking oilways, and that's one of the problems that
so these are the air intakes here.
Yeah.
So these are getting filled with sand. Surely they must have been some kind of filter.
Yeah, no filters. Yeah.
No filters.
Yeah.
What about the drive then? That coming out of here into a gearbox
This has got a 4-speed gearbox.
4-speed
and then
gearbox.
it drives the rear axle via a prop shaft.
Right.
Quite a number of these big aero engine cars of this time were actually chain drive to the back wheels, but this was shaft drive, yeah.
no front brakes.
Yeah, I just looking at that.
No front brakes, only rear brakes.
I don't suppose they were bothered about stopping. How did they stop? They had a brake, did they?
They had a brake, but you got a long run off at the end of the time.
I was looking, I had a little look at the car before. I was looking, they've even streamlined the handbrake to make it cut through the wind a bit better.
That's right.
Obviously, they're looking for miles per hour. It's incredible, isn't it?
But the other thing to consider again, Howard, is when a lot of these cars were built, and they were built to go round one way around the circuit.
Yes. Like Brooklands.
Like Brooklands. So they were handling quite well on those circuits, but to keep them straight in a straight line was quite a task for these cars.
Where was the fuel then? Where was the fuel?
Where's the fuel? Behind the driver.
In that tank? That's the fuel tank there, is it?
And with they've used, the fuels you've got today, obviously, are far advanced. Would these have run on a conventional fuel?
I think this one ran on fairly conventional fuel. Some of the more highly, high performance cars would have run on alcohol-based fuels, but this was conventional petrol. Yeah.
Why the spoked wheels?
Because that's what you're basically building. You've got the strength there. It was difficult to build a disc wheel at that time. You will see pictures of this with discs, but it was a disc on the outside. Yeah.
But of course they want the cooling as well, and that's a big aspect of it, isn't it?
Have you driven this car?
Not me, no.
So if you want to move it around or you want to do it here, it's pushed around? Or
we push it around.
Have you got a driver?
We have. There's a couple of our guys on the engineering team who've driven this. To be honest, it's a lovely thing. I don't think I'd want to drive it. It's a real beast. It
But of course,
really is.
Sir Malcolm Campbell's grandson drove it in
He
Pendine.
did, at Pendine, yeah, Don Wales drove it.
That was 10 years ago, on the
That's right, yeah.
90th anniversary.
And this is the 100-year celebration now, then, coming up.
So it's the 100th anniversary of its third land speed record, the second with Malcolm Campbell, yes, and hitting the 150
And is it going to
mile an hour.
Pendine for that?
It will be making an appearance at Pendine. It will be started. Ministry of Defence are using Pendine that week for their own purposes, but it will be there for a start-up, although it won't actually run. Yeah.
So this is a big part of British, Welsh motorsport history.
Heritage.
You're honoured to have it here.
Very much so. I mean, we're lucky. We've got 4 outright land speed record cars here, all British built, all associated with famous British racing drivers.
What's the value of something like this?
It's priceless, really.
Is it?
You can't.
You've got to value it for insurance
we have
somewhere.
a value for insurance, but how do you value something that is truly unique?
Yeah.
So next year we have the Elfyn Napier special, and this is the Sunbeam 1000, the 200 mile an hour one, which the chassis outside, the body's here. What's that blue thing over there?
So that's Bluebird CN7. So after the Second World War, Sir Malcolm Campbell passed away in the 1940s, but his son, Donald Campbell, also went in search of the water speed record with a session of boats called Bluebird, and then he also went for the land speed record in the 1960s. That's Bluebird CN7. Had mixed success with it in the early 60s, but finally in 1964 at Lake Eyre in Australia, he raised the land speed record to 403 miles an hour. And that is still the fastest anyone's been with a wheel-driven car, because after that, all the land speed records have been taken by jet or rocket-propelled cars. Right. So that is still the outright land speed.
406 mile an hour, actually. 150 is way faster than for me. I'll tell you where I'm going now. I'm going to have a look at that beautiful Austin Healey out there.
Hwn yn rhywbeth yn ni'n lawer mwy gyfarwydd Howard. I cael un o'r ein yn y garej heddi, gallu mas i enjoyo fe.
A mae hwn mon yn 2.6, ti'n weld, 4-cylinder. Yr Healey's mawr, maen nhw'n drwm, a maen nhw'n drwm i troi.
Maen nhw yn, ond na beth mae pawb yn licio cael, a newedig yn classic rally yng Nghyddi. Boes sy'n mynd mas yn y ceir un, maen nhw'n enjoyo. Mae'n
lot o rain, o'n i wedi bildio. £855 brand new.
Wel, a beth yw ers rhywbeth rhaid heddi, Howard?
Os ni'n licio ddeud.
Wel, fi'n disgo row fan hyn nawr, mae rhywbeth rhaid dylan ligan i fan hyn nawr, ochr hyn, rhywbeth yn ni'n lawer mwy gyfarwydd. A un o'r ceir un gyda fi yn y garej.
Ford Escort RS 1800, ex-works Escorts.
Wel, nôl yn 1980, disaidodd Ford Motor Company yn Boram i tynnu mas o'r sefyllfa ar y pryd, rallying ar y pryd. So, oedd popeth i David Sutton. Ac os y car un i adeiladu gyda David Sutton, mwyn bod Ari Fatinen a Dave Richards gallu cystadlu yn Pencampwriaeth y byd.
Ar nhw ennill yn 91, 81.
Do, a mae'r car un gwmws fel benodd yr rally. Wrth edrych yn y nawr, mae un o'r ein gyda fi gytre yn y garej, gwmws yw'n peth hwn, wedi cael ei adeiladu gyda David Sutton hefyd, a mae'r car un nawr yn eitha special.
So beth yw hwn? 2 litre, 2 litre 4-cylinder BDG, double overhead camshaft, wneud rhyw 255 horsepower, 120 mile an hour top end, ie? Wedi werth rhywbeth fel un o'n de? Wel... Mae bobl yn sôn am 100, 130, 150.
Wel, i adeiladu car nawr, mae'n 150,000, ond mae'n rhywbeth fel un, achos bod hanes gyda'r car un, mae'n werth lawer mwy na ni.
A dyna beth mae Philip Mills, Scott Williams, CM Racing fan i yn Colwyn Bay, dyna beth maen nhw'n neud rhan, ail-bildio rhain. Mewn i spec newydd neu historic?
Wel, mewn i historic spec rhan mwyaf, ond mae'n bobl yn treddu iwso'r un engines nawr yn yr historic vehicles yn gyda'r BDAs. Ond wrth gwrs mae bobl fel Scott Williams, yr enghraifft yn dod i 2.5 litre Millingtons mewn o popeth. Ond mae'r car un yn naturiol pan gall ei designo ffordd un dylen nhw fod.
Pam, dwi'n mynd i gofyn? Be di'r tyniad i rhain te?
Wel, ffordd maen nhw'n trafod, mae bobl yn mynd mas i watcho'r ein, i watcho'r ceir modern, y rally cars un. Di ddim yn excited, Howard. I edrych ar y ceir un, maen nhw'n sideways.
Y Quattro fanna, hwnna, Quattro i Hanno Mickle oedd hwnna, eto wedi cael ei bildio efo Dave Sutton, i Hong Kong, Beijing.
Do, ar y pryd, do.
Long distance rallies. Oedd o'n llwyddiant ar y rallies hir na? Oedd yna lot o gwaith yn cadw Quattro i fynd yn oedd?
Wel, oedd, ond y pwynt yw, i adeiladu'r ceir un, bobl fel David Sutton, ond yn gwybod exactly beth oedd eisiau eisiau i paratoi'r ceir yna. Oedd eisiau bod y ceir yn gloi, ond oedd eisiau bod nhw'n saff hefyd. A'r ceirin, obviously, chymod, oedd revolution nawr, ond oedd e. Chi'n mynd o rear-wheel drive i four-wheel drive, a wrth gwrs y Quattro. A Quattro oedd yr un cynta i do mewn gyda'r turbo 205, turbo 16 gyda Peugeot, a'r S200s gyda Fords yn enghraifft. Ond y Quattro oedd wedi dechrau'r four-wheel drive revolution.
Ie, revolution. So un cwestiwn ar ôl, wan. Faint yw ti eisiau am dy gar yn y garej?
Dwi ddim ar werth.
Mae pob beth ar werth, ynddi?
Wel, pob beth ar werth am pris, ond so'n credu, licen ni.
Mae'n agos i di gael yndi?
Wel, odi, a mae merch gyda fi gatre. A
mae'n atyn bach hanes, yn does? Ti di gyrio, ti di cydarwr yn y car, ti di ennill pencampwriaethiau, a bethau, so, ti'n bod mae'n agos, yndi?
Odi, mae e. Ie. Arian ddim popeth.
Ti di weld y ffilm Le Mans?
Odw, fi wedi.
Mae yna hanes y car yma, oedd hwn yn y ffilm, cael ei ffilmio, a crasiodd y boi, dwi'n mynd cofio enw y gyrw rwan, ond wnaeth o torri coes ffwr.
Do.
A gaeth y car ail-fildio, a rasio mwy yn y series.
Do.
Ond hanes mawr yn y car yma.
Ond os ydy, wel fi'n cofio gweld y car yn Goodwood, y Festival of Speed, sawl blwyddyn yn ôl nawr. Do lan y tyle yn Goodwood, tipyn o spectacle. Mae wedi cael ei ail-wneud nawr yn gwmws fel oedd o niwedd. Ond disgwyl y pris siawad.
Ie,
16,000. I adeiladu rhywbeth ffordd hyn heddi, licen i ddim meddwl.
Hanner miliwn, siwr.
O, a fwy na ni.
Foswch chi'n licio mynd fyny'r rhyw yn Goodwood yn rhywbeth fel hyn?
Na, so'n credu. Mae'n gormodd i fi. A disgwyl ti fewn iddo. Eitha claustrophobic ti fewn hefyd.
Yndi. A ti'n gofio neidio allan yn fast yn doedd? A newid driver a bethau, oh no, leave that. Thank you very much. Move on.
Na fe, sport hollol wahanol.
Ie. Hon yw'r engine a chassis o'r car coch wnaethon ni weld yn y galeri na. Ond gan ni edrych ar y chassis yma, achos maen nhw'n trio ail-fildio hwn i 2027, mynd nôl i Daytona i trio wneud 200 mile an hour.
Ie, mae'n lot fo hawaith i wneud.
Hynny size y drum brakes. A dipyn o gwaith yn os. Ond bydd y chassis yn cwmpo ymlaen yn fydd. Ond bydd na ddau engine, un yn y ffrant ac un yn y cefn.
Ie, a bydd 1,000 horsepower hefo.
Dipyn o gwaith i cael hwn barod i mynd i America, siwr ni.
Tipyn o gwaith.
A wedyn chain drive oedd ti weld, oedd y ddau engine, un engine fanna, a dod allan i fan hyn i ryw gearbox, a wedyn troi rhyw chains fan hyn, a chains yn troi ar olwyn cefn. Dyna sut oedd yn gweithio.
A'r radiators, ail nid y radiators nawr, ysgol.
A mae yna boi yn eiste fanna rhywle, rhwng y radiators a steering wheel. Oes y brakes ar y diawl ma, de?
Wel, oes
fanna, drum fanna, drums ar y ffrant hefyd. Eitha chassis, roed fawr, mae so hwn yn pwyso rhyw ffotan, siwn ni?
O, byddwn ni'n meddwl byddwn.
Achos mae'r engines yn tynnull a hanner, siwn ni?
Oren.
Bydd y diawl yn syncio yn Pendine.
Wel, byddai'r jacks yn syncio.
Iawn, ni'n licio'r jacks na. Sy'n licio'r jacks na, so sbarin jacio fe fyny, just weindio hwnna lawr.
Ie, i cael newer y wheels yn gloi. Mae'n pointless wedi reini yn Pendine.
O, serious. Mae rhywun wedi gweithio'n galed ar hwn, does? Wel, Hyw, y lle anhygoel yma yn Beaulieu, yndi. Ond cwestiwn yw, lle mae pethau'n cael ei trwsio?
Mae siw gymaint o geir fan hyn, a beth mae'r bobl yn ffindo yw'r cyfan yn y museum i hunan. Ond mae rai paratoi'r ceirin, a mae'n un mae'n digwydd.
Ie, fan un mae'n digwydd.
Ni wedi cyrraedd yn yr centre.
Mae'n engine draw fanna, li. Mae hwn yn car Doctor Who, a mae yna engine imp i mynd fewn i hwnna. Reliant Robin oedd hwn i cychwyn, a mae hwnna'n cael ei trwsio fan hyn. A mae yna dyn draw fanna, naid rhywbeth gewn i mynd drosodd i weld, Mike, what are you doing over there?
Hello there. Working on a 1903 Daimler.
And what are you doing to it?
It's done an awful lot of work in its life. It's 1903. It's done a lot of London to Brighton car runs, and it was becoming a little bit tired. So we're doing new shackle pins, recessing the springs on the front.
Have you got a manual to tell you how it works?
Actually, in our library, we actually have. It's actually a very comprehensive manual.
What's happening here?
This is the body off it.
Bit of wood there, good old bit of wooden seats.
Yes, well, no. It's actually got the padded seats there at the top there.
They're up there. And what's happening with the Doctor Who car?
The clutch on there decided to go pear-shaped.
And the clutch is in the imp engine here?
On the imp engine.
Easy thing to work on?
Yes, we can get the heavy clutches, but we're just trying to find the lightweight clutch at the moment.
And the one beauty we've clocked over there is the engine for one of the land speed cars.
Yes, yes.
Have you been involved in rebuilding this?
Yes, yes.
Where did you do your apprenticeship then? You only done it a few years ago, have you?
It's no apprenticeship. I just have a love of vintage and veteran motorcycles. That's my love. But I came here for a year, and 29 years later, I'm still here.
And how many of you are there here?
There's 3 of us in the workshop full time, and we got 1 trainee now, and we got a couple of 3 volunteers. We've got a couple of 3 volunteers that help us in the job.
Tell us a little bit about this.
The engines are Sunbeam Aero engines. First World War finished. Of course, they had no need for these engines anymore. So what are we going to do with them? So there was a Harmsworth Trophy and such like where they were racing the powerboats around the Isle of Wight, just across the water here. And they put 2 of these into a boat called Maple Leaf 4. Then somebody said, oh, we'll build a boat called Maple Leaf 7. So they actually put 4 of these engines into a powerboat.
And these are engines out of an aeroplane used in
airships.
Airships used in the First World War.
Yeah. So then they got there and they took them over. They were going to be racing against Gar Woods and Mr. America, and they dropped it on the quayside when they were manoeuvring, and they cracked the keel. So they got there and they sunk. So these engines, not only were they built for a plane, or an airship, which they didn't end up going into, they were built for a boat, that the boat sunk, so they've been to the bottom of Detroit Harbour, washed out, dried out, taken back to Wolverhampton, then put into the car, the land speed car. So these engines in their own history have actually got an awful long history.
And how much of this engine, is original?
Yes,
it is original.
Yeah,
so you just refurbished
it's been
it.
white metalled. It's a Slaven King Conrod.
Right.
The pistons are all original.
Right.
The rings are all have been renewed.
Right.
But as such, the engine is actually very, very original.
And the block itself, did that have to be rebored or through corrosion?
No, because it's original.
Original. My word.
We've had 3 cylinders where we had to put new sleeves in there.
Right.
But apart from that, they're all
amazing.
Yeah.
And what about the schedule here for the workshop? Who decides what needs to come in and be fixed? And have you got a rolling schedule on maintaining the vehicles?
We have, and we're sort of very much told what we got to do.
That's done up above. That's done in the office.
Yeah.
You're just told
that's
what
my
to
big
do.
boss does that. And but we have a list of what we're going to do, and we don't always get round to it, and we end up with stuff poked in that we didn't actually exist.
And what if you can't do it? What do you do? Who do you call? You can't call the AA, the RAC. You can't go down the local dealership and find out.
No,
can you?
we're normally the ones that, when everyone else runs out of ideas,
they come to you.
Yeah, they come to us.
Mike, great. Thanks for speaking to you. We won't hinder you anymore. Now you carry on with your, what were you doing?
Daimler. 03
That's it,
Daimler.
on your Daimler.
Thank you very much indeed. That's very informative.
But, Hugh, lle anhygoel, does? Mae'n mor gymaint o ddarnau o stil a bethau fan'na.
Mae'r tools.
Tools, saws a bob peth i torri.
Tools hen ffasiwn sy'n gallu neud.
Press fan'na, li. Rhyw fath o saw. Mae'na ledd, mae'na dau ledd. Fan hyn o'n isio weld, ynddi.
O, hollol. Ni'n deall nawr ffordd mae'n cyrraedd.
Ie. A siw, mae'r gymaint o gwaith yma i trwsio bob peth a cadw bob peth mor newydd.
Mae siw gyda'r talent gyda'r boes hyn. Mae'n galed ofnadwy i cael bobl i go mewn.
O, siwr i cael bobl i gweithio yma. Ond oedd o boi yn daid, boi ffarm dyn isio, boi sydd wedi bod allan trwsio tractors a pethau. Fan hyn maen nhw eisiau dod i gweithio. So os gen ti'r talent a ti eisiau dod lawr i fan hyn i gweithio, ffonio'r boes fan hyn de.
Mae'n good boi siarad.
Nawn ni rawnd nôl fewn i'r museum. Iawn. Ffor ein, ie. Wel, fan hyn maen nhw'n dathlu pencampwriaeth y gyrwyr. 75 years.
75 years. Yr ysgol...
ie.
Mae enwen o gyd mae'n Howard.
A mae'r cair yn anhygoel hefyd yn
Ond Ond one yw'r car i fi, Howard. One yw'r car i fi. Fi'n dwlu ar y car un, mae'r cylysgu, mae popeth arall. Mae pris a value y car un yn outstanding. Dwi ddim o'r car ar werth, ond...
Pan bod yr exhaust yn gwyn, de? Di cael ei wneud allan o rhyw fath o...
Tyn i'r gres mas.
Pa fec oedd hwn, de?
March, yw yn.
March?
Ie, nawr, be sy'n gweithio...
Nes ti gweithio efo rhain yn dod?
Wel, just ar ôl ni, actually, pan bydd Leighton House yn sponsor nhw. Ond mae'r March nawr yn eitha poblogaeth yn historic sports cars a historic racing.
So di rhain, there's a lot o werth yn rhywbeth fel hyn, wan te?
Os, mae tipyn o werth. Mae'n dibynnu, really, yn pwy sydd wedi drifo'r awyr.
Nigel Mansell di gyrru hwn, li? Yn yr 80s? Ydy Austin Rover, law, hana? Denim Mobile, ICI.
Mae'n disgwyl fel mae'r ceir yn mynd mlaen, mae'n mynd mwy o seis.
Mwy o seis, ynden wir, ynden. Be oedd hwn te, 1986.
86. Williams Formula 1.
8 to 1200 horsepower at 12,000 RPM.
A wedyn ni, dechreuodd byddwch chi'n newid hwnni. Disgwyl fel...
Yr aero di newid. A ti'n gallu weld hwn heddiw, yn dweud? Achos bod nhw'n drws nesau i'n gilydd, wyt ti'n gallu weld, yn dweud?
Wyt, mae'r Evolution...
93 oedd hwn te. Coulthard yn gyrru hwnna. Amser y games, yn dweud, Sega Mega Drive, cofia?
wrw, fi yn.
Williams, wedi hwnna, Williams Active Suspension. Hwn oedd y Jaguar, A5 Jaguar.
A wwn dechreuodd y sponsorship off wedyn i Red Bull. So o'n nhw'n disgwyl yn fanol i'r
ffordd. So Mark Webber, a pwy arall yn gyrru hwn?
Johnny Herbert.
Johnny Herbert, ie. Oedd na boi yn Llandudno efo un o'r rhain. Oedd wedi prynu o gen Jaguar, a redeg aftermarket Jaguar Garage, ac oedd wedi prynu yn yr rhain, a wedyn oedd yn mynd efo allan i events a bethau, oedd yna i pres, ond mae'n talu lot am y car.
A nawr disgwyl ffordd mae prych wedi efolfo nawr.
Yli'r aero package o bopeth.
Hollol wahanol.
Wyt ti'n meddwl bod yn naid mor gymaint o gwaniaeth?
Odi. Sim dawt o wedyn ni.
I fi, maen nhw wedi mynd yn hirach, wan.
Wel, mae'r ceir, mae'r tipyn o hyd yn nhw.
Ia, mae hwn yn edrych lot fwy, yn dydi?
Odi.
Mae hwn yn 2021.
Odi. Ond i disgwyl nawr, Howard, 21, mae 4 blynedd wedi mynd o ddadbyr y car unrhyw cael ei design o adeiladu, a nawr mae'n disgwyl hollol wahanol eto.
A pwy oedd yn gyrru hwn wan te, Williams? Nicholas Latifi and George Russell. A ni'r holl aero fanna, wrth y driver fanna. Daw. Ond ni'n mynd deall bod o mor gymleth a mor...
Odi.
So, os yw rhywbeth yn hitio'r car na, rhyw debri ar y trac a malu hwnna.
Mae'n effeithio. A ti'n disgwyl yn fanol nawr i ffordd mae'r ceirin yn trafod heddi, a mae'r carbon fibre yn dangerous. Un oes mae'n droff, a bod rwy'n yn mynd dros i benne.
Mae'n mynd yn eitha puncture, nice. Ond mae'r display yma tan November, tan Tachwedd, so mae'n chance i dod i weld y ceir yma yn Beaulieu. Mae di agor rhyw fus yn ôl, a mae'n rhaid brysur yma.
Odi, mae.
So, dyn ni'n lwcus i just cael 5 minutes yma i weld y cair.
A disgod y hanes.
A siŵr bod y Formula 1 yn hapus iawn i weld y cair yma yn dathlu 75 years. Wel, da ni'n gallu dod i Beaulieu yma i'r museum heb edrych ar y motorbikes, Negden. A mae hwn di talu sylw ar y lyged fi. Zenith, 3.5 horsepower Garuda. Wedi cael ei bildio yn 1913. 500 horsepower, £59 i prynu. Ond mae mor special hiw, right?
Mae'r technoleg yma.
Mae hwn yn CVT, Constant Variable Transmission, right? A mae'r hub yma yn sleidio fyny'r shaft yma, right? A mae hwnna wedyn, yr olwyn nôl yn sleidio ar ei nôl i altro'r transmission ratio. So chi'n mynd lawr y ffordd wan a ti'n dod ar rhyw straight a ti'n gallu speedio fyny. Corneli, slofi lawr. A mae hwn, Constant Variable Transmission, yn dal i cael ei iwsio yn cair newydd heddiw. Ond yn 1913, o ryw boi o Zenith wedi diseinio hwn. A chwarae teg, mae hwn yn special. Yli'r belts yma. Dwi'n meddwl bod bobl yn clefer, asio nhw'n clefer. Cyn y rhyfel gyntaf, hwn?
Mae'n iawn. Mae'n rhaid fi'n gweud, Howard, sy'n bod y ddirodeb gyda fi mewn bikes, ond ar ôl dod fan hyn heddi, i disgwyl ffordd mae'r ein wedi dod mlaen, mae'n tipyn o education, ynddo fe? Suspension yli ar y Fox, suspension ar y seat. Ond mae yna rhywbeth arall dwi eisiau dangos i ti fan hyn, bod ti'n gwybod bod tad Murray Walker ar asio motorbikes? Wel, wedi ffindo hwnna mas heddi. Wyna, fo, gan i mynd i weld y bike te. Was that a bit of a gal that we God, i ni mynd i weld y motorbike te. Gan i ni mynd... Wel, Hugh, well i ni mynd i weld bike tad Murray Walker. Da iawn. Paid y chwerthu. Wel, Howard, ni wedi cyrraedd man hyn, a mae rhywbeth special o flaen i man hyn. Mae hwn yn Rudge Whitworth. Nawr, mae'r bike hyn wedi cael ei adeiladu mwyn tad Murray Walker. Tad Murray Walker yn 1928 i uso'r bike hyn. Lot o hanes i'r bike, Ond wrth meddwl amdano fe, fi wedi dysgu rhywbeth heddi nawr, taw tad Murray Walker, sydd wedi dechrau fe off yn motorsport. Ar ôl iddo cystadlu gyda'r Ridgeworth hyn, ath ymlaen i dechrau siarad yn bwyti'r peth, ar ail y man TT a'r oll rhasys wedi wneud, a fe dechreuodd Murray Walker off i dechrau'r commentator.
Ac ar y baic yma nath ennill yr Ulster Grand Prix yn 1928, ond eith o ffili diwedd y TT. A mae'n ychydig o bikes TT draw fanna hefyd yn does. A mae'n amser wan y blwyddyn y TT, yn anffodus blwyddyn yma wan, mae'r senior TT cael ei canslo achos y tywydd.
Mae rhaid yn y sylweddoli beth o'r dangers yn niwedig yn y TT. Pob blwyddyn mae lot o bobl yn cael ei ladd neu cael damwain, a achos bod y speed wedi mynd lan pob blwyddyn gyda'r ein, mae'r tywydd yn bwysig ofnadw. So, dim opsiwn gyda nhw. Ond nhw'n goffo canslo fe.
Dyn ni cael lot o hwyl heddiw, ynddo?
Ni wedi.
A ti'n bod, o ti'n dweud, every day is a school day. Dyn ni dysgu pethau heddiw, o'n i'n gwybod. O'n i'n gwybod bod tad Murray Walker yn reidio motorbikes, a o'n i'n gwybod bod Murray Walker yn gen fo diddordeb yn y TT. Mae'n gret, yndi? A ti'n bod, i dod i lle fel hyn. Fyswn ni gallu cerdded rownd am 2-3 diwrnod.
Wel, gallen ni byth a gweld popeth yma. Ond i fi, un o'r pethau mwyaf bwysig i fi, bod ni wedi gweld y workshop. Mae'r ffordd maen nhw wedi trafod y ceirin dod mewn man hyn, gweithio'n galed arnyn nhw, mwyn bod bobl gallu dod man hyn i edrych arnyn nhw.
Diolch yn fawr i'r National Motor Museum a diolch yn fawr i Bryn am gadael ni do fewn a weld bob peth. Bryn drosodd i chi o Llangadfan.
Ie, gobeithio bod chi wedi mwynhau eich ymweliad ar amgueddfa moduro cenedlaethol.
Mae rai fi'n cofio ni.
Ie. Felly, fel ydych chi'n gweld, mae yna llawn amgueddfa, llawn o cerbydau. Mae yna dros 280 o cerbydau i weld. Mae
yna pethau newid o hyd yn dyn?
Oes, mae yna lot o arddangosfeydd dros dro yma hefyd.
A ti'n agor bob dydd?
Oes, a digwyddiadau dros yr he hefyd.
OK, great. Click and subscribe. Dod lawr i fan hyn i Beaulieu i edrych ar y cair a'r motorbikes. Diolch yn fawr.
Hwyl o Beaulieu.